All right, everybody, welcome back to another deep dive. Today we're going to try to figure out how to navigate all the craziness around diet trends.
Yeah.
It can get overwhelming with all the information out there.
Absolutely.
So many different diets, so many promises.
Right.
And sometimes, it feels like you need a PhD just to figure out what's healthy and what's not.
Yeah.
Luckily, we found this really interesting document.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What's it called?
It's called Metin Yapıştırıldı.
Interesting title.
Yeah, it dives deep into all these different diet trends, breaks down the pros, the cons.
Okay, so it's like a critical analysis.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we're going to do today. Use it to help us, separate the facts from the fads.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
So this document jumps right into listing out all the pros and cons of different diets, which is great. But I think maybe before we get into all of that, it might be helpful to take a step back for a second and just think about what even makes a diet a trend in the first place.
Yeah.
What makes one diet suddenly explode in popularity?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think a lot of times it's a combination of things, right?
Right.
Like you'll have some new scientific finding, or at least a claim about some new finding.
Right.
And then maybe a celebrity jumps on board, starts talking about it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And suddenly you've got this catchy marketing campaign. It's all over social media, and boom, it's a trend.
It's like wildfire.
Exactly.
Think about the keto diet, for instance.
Oh, yeah. Keto.
That one was everywhere, just a few years ago.
Everyone and their grandma was talking about it.
Right. Why do you think that one became so popular?
Well, I think with keto, it was partly because of the whole high-fat, low-carb thing, right?
Right.
People were intrigued by the idea of eating bacon and butter and still losing weight.
It sounded almost too good to be true.
Right. And to be fair, for some people, it did work. Like, they lost weight pretty quickly, felt more energetic.
Yeah, I remember hearing a lot of success stories.
Right. But then, of course, there was also the other side of it.
Yeah, the potential downsides.
Some people found it really hard to stick to long-term.
Yeah, cutting out carbs completely.
It's tough.
It's a big change.
And then there were also concerns about things like cholesterol levels, with all that fat intake.
Right, and nutrient deficiencies, if you're not careful.
Exactly. So, like with any diet, it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. It's about figuring out what works for your individual body and your health goals.
Okay, so that's keto. Another one that's been super trendy lately is intermittent fasting.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
What are your thoughts on that one?
Well, with intermittent fasting, I think the appeal is that it's not so much about what you eat, but when you eat,
Right.
It's all about having these specific eating windows and then fasting for certain periods of time.
Yeah, and there are so many different variations, right?
Well, yeah, there's like the 168 method, the 5.2 method.
Like balance-a-day fasting.
Tons of different ways to do it.
But what does the science say about it?
Well, some studies have shown that it can be effective for weight loss, just like other calorie restriction methods.
Okay, so it's not magic.
Right, it's still about creating a calorie deficit.
Makes sense.
But what's interesting is that there's also some emerging research suggesting it might have other benefits beyond just weight management.
Oh, really? Like what?
Well, some studies suggest that it might promote something called autophagy.
Autophagy, yeah.
Yeah, it's basically a cellular cleanup process where your body gets rid of damaged cells.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and some researchers believe that this could have implications for things like longevity and disease prevention.
Wow, so it's like a cellular spring cleaning.
Kind of, yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got keto, which is all about macronutrients, and intermittent fasting, which is more about meal timing. What other approaches does this document talk about?
Well, another popular one, and one that's actually been around for a while, is the Mediterranean diet.
Oh, yeah, I've heard a lot about that one.
It consistently ranks high in terms of overall health benefits.
What is it about the Mediterranean diet that makes it so good for you?
Well, it really emphasizes eating a variety of whole foods, like fruits, vegetables, whole grains.
Sounds pretty common sense so far.
Right, but it's the specific combination of foods that makes it unique. They also really focus on legumes, nuts, olive oil.
Oh yeah, olive oil is a big part of it, right?
Exactly. And all of these foods are packed with antioxidants, fiber.
Good for gut health?
And it helps reduce inflammation in the body, which is linked to a lot of chronic diseases.
Right.
Plus, the Mediterranean diet emphasizes healthy fats, like those monounsaturated fats found in olive oil.
Oh yeah, those are good for the heart, right?
Yep, they've been linked to improved cholesterol levels and a reduced risk of heart disease.
So it's like a delicious way to be healthy.
Exactly.
Okay, now this document it lists pros and cons for each diet approach, right? So are there any downsides to the Mediterranean diet?
Honestly, not really.
No.
The biggest challenge for some people might just be adjusting to a new way of eating, especially if they're used to a very processed Western diet.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so we've explored a bunch of different diet trends here.
We have.
We talked about keto, intermittent fasting, the Mediterranean diet. What would you say is the biggest takeaway for our listeners? What's the most important thing for people to understand about all of this?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that there's no one perfect diet.
Right.
What works for one person might not work for another. And it's not about finding some magical solution that will solve all your problems overnight. It's about understanding your own individual needs and goals and finding an approach that you can actually stick with long term.
Yeah, it's like figuring out what works for you.
Exactly.
Just like, some people thrive on routine and structure, others need more flexibility. It's about finding what fits your lifestyle.
Absolutely.
So we've done our deep dive here, looked at all this info about diet trends, but the real work starts now, right?
Yeah.
For our listeners,
To me.
it's time to take action.
Right. So what would you say to someone who's listening? They're intrigued by some of these diets. They're ready to make a change.
I would say, first of all, great. It's awesome that you're taking an active interest in your health.
Yeah.
But remember, knowledge is power. Use this information we talked about today to do some more research, maybe explore some different approaches.
Right.
And really importantly, talk to your doctor or a registered dietitian.
Right. Get some professional advice.
Exactly. They can help you figure out what's safe and effective for you based on your specific health history and goals.
Yeah, that's really key personalized advice.
Absolutely.
All right, well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into diet trends.
It's been fun.
And remember, everyone, keep exploring, stay curious.
And make informed decisions about your health. We'll see you next time.
Bye.